Welcome to another episode of Pursuit, where we will be continuing our study on the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd John. We're going to go the same intro. So, I don't know if you guys know this, but a lot of the times when we're filming these episodes, it's like after work, like nighttime, right? So, some might say dinner time. So we get a little snacky, but we can't have a full dinner here, so we just brought a little bit of snack and bacon. It is, in fact, Oscar Mayer gummy bacon. It does say on the box, though, fruit-flavored gummies. So I didn't want anyone to be disappointed that it didn't taste like bacon.
I'm already disappointed.
Yes, so we're going to try. This does not even remotely. There's no, like, oh, there is a little bit of marbling in there. You just have to, I couldn't see it through the glare of the light on the packaging. This one was way easier to open than the...
I don't know if that's good or bad. I really thought you had that upside down for a second. That was all just going to spill out.
Have a little bit of faith in me. All right, come get your bacon.
Bacon.
How many strips
1,
are
2,
there?
3, 4, 5. Me and Asha will share one.
Mm-hmm.
Just like the hot dog.
I mean, it's greasy like bacon.
Definitely looks like, feels like a piece of raw bacon.
It's giving fruit roll-up.
But like thicker.
It smells
Yeah.
I want to play with it. Like it feels like slime, like Play-Doh.
It feels like Play-Doh. It smells like Play-Doh.
It does.
A little bit. It also smells like. It smells like you know when you were little and you had those like fruity like lip glosses or chapsticks and stuff, like the lip smackers.
I know all about it.
I feel like the hot dog last time it was like wet. This one doesn't seem like
Yes,
wet.
the hot dog
No,
had
I
like
take it
a.
back. It's like kind of wet in the back.
Are you sure it's not because you were just running your hands all over it? Is that your
drooling on
hand
it.
sweat or something? All right. Okay, we're ready.
Ready.
Kevin.
I'm gonna eat it from the mid.
Kevin. Should we cheers?
No.
Thank you.
Why did it make a sound like?
It hit my hand.
No.
Shouldn't.
No.
Oh, you
Shit.
tasted it already?
I tap out at this bacon. This is it. It's here. Give them a.
Ew.
Y'all need a tray? Because,
Ew. I hate that.
as you guys know, I like weird food combos.
How would they know that?
Well, I was talking to y'all.
Oh.
But this, I tap on. Bacon 1, Chrissy 0, because no.
Did you go in for a second bite?
I needed to
No,
like
you
fully.
didn't. You didn't need anything on that.
She low-key
I feel like
likes
no,
it.
because I had just chewed it. I didn't fully taste it.
You like it? You tried it?
But why is it so chemically?
You took a second. I feel like
Do you know what? I take it back. I take it back.
Alright, here we go. One more time.
Here you go.
Take a third bite, Ariel, but push through and like chew it. It gets fruitier. I just did it.
It does, but I'm not willing to put up with the chemical taste to get the ounce of fruity. It's like the LaCroix of gummies.
I literally feel like I took a bite of Christian's Play-Doh.
Play-Doh's salty,
Well, bacon's a little bit salty, right?
but this
So-
is fruit-flavored gummies. Anyway, what is the truth? Why does...
This was horrible. All right? And if you go back a few episodes in December, I talk about this. Why do we do this to ourselves? Just for us to all be like, it tastes bad. Right? And every time it gets progressively worse. And I was like, no, Kevin, you got to try it. You got to try it. No, I don't have to try it. It's bad. That's the truth. It's bad.
But look at such a fun time we've had as friends here on this podcast. I would
20 minutes
recommend-
into a 5-minute clip.
Wow. Don't you love being with your friends? anyways, we're talking about truth in this episode, and why that. Well, actually, first question: why is truth so crucial or so important into our lives?
I'm not gonna lie, you're gonna have to repeat that again.
Why is truth important?
Asha?
Truth is important to our lives in our life because I feel like it's knowing that you're like securely like walking with like your Jesus. That was really hard to say.
Beautifully
Wha-
said.
Am I like really loud?
No.
I don't think so.
Okay. I'm uncomfortable.
So, I was gonna say basically that. There we go. I think when it comes to truth, it's important because truth and reality are kind of synonymous. So, if you don't have truth, like how do you function properly, like just every day, right? Like even like taking a step back from like religion and faith and things like that. If I mean, like if you get into a car and you're driving, you need the traffic laws and the signs to be true. If they're false, you get into an accident. So like truth is critical to just everyday life.
What about like the like my truth movement thing? Then how do we know like what is the real truth versus like someone's version of the truth?
Asha?
That wasn't a question that was posed before. But
Um,
it kind of, when you said that truth is synonymous with reality, because I don't know if it, I think it should be, but a lot of times it's like, it's my definition of the truth that builds my reality.
so the phrase "my truth," right, really is just an opinion in most cases, or no, let me not say it's opinion. It's an experience, right? You can experience something, right? That doesn't mean it's the truth. Because for truth to be true, it has to be absolute, right? Red has to be red every single time for it to be true, right? If you don't experience it as red, there can be other factors, right? Like if you're colorblind or something, I know there's certain,
Red, green, or
yeah, like it confuses colors. Oh, I don't want to say confused, but like you see the colors
Perceive
differently,
them.
right? So
perception.
right. So your experience of it is that it's blue, but the truth of it is that it is red, right? And I think when we talk about my truth, we're talking about experience and as you said, your perception of things and I think the my truth movement comes from people's experiences being invalidated, right? So in an effort to validate someone's experience, they're like, oh no, that's your truth, and now it carries more weight. Your experience doesn't need to have the connotation of truth attached to it for it to be valid. And I think that's where a lot of people have kind of misconstrued truth because in trying to validate ourselves, we had to attach ourselves to truth. Yeah.
So then how do we counteract that? Instead of attaching ourselves to truth, do we then instead attach the truth to us?
So I think I said it backwards. We are trying to attach the truth to ourselves when we should be attached to truth. Because truth is absolute, right? So we should be attached to whatever is true, right? We shouldn't be trying to make the truth conform to us.
So in this book, right, of Second John, there is one singular source of the love that John and I guess all of us do have for God's people. that source is essentially the truth, right? Or the truth of who God is and what he is. So how would we go about explaining what that truth is to people around us?
Can you repeat that?
So the source of love that we have, right, for the people of the world, right? That source is the truth of who God is and what he is and what he means. How would we explain that to the people that have never experienced that truth of God?
Do you want to go? I gotta think about it.
I'm not gonna lie, you have to ask that question one more time.
How do we explain
Mm-hmm.
that God is love
Mm-hmm.
to people that haven't experienced the fact that God is love?
I feel like you asked it so much more direct this time.
I did.
The first 2 times you did not, because I didn't want to say it the first time, but I needed you to repeat it then too. And then I was re-listening, and then like you lost me halfway through the second time. But okay, how do we explain? I mean, you can tell someone. Oh, go ahead. I feel like you got something. Go, because I had nothing.
What?
No, I was gonna say, I feel like people can see God's love for us, or like our love for God by like example, like the way that we live and the way that we like desire relationship with Him. Like I think like, does that make sense? Like they
Like by example.
Yeah.
We lead by example. Okay.
I know like the Super Bowl, they had like a Jesus commercial thing in the Super Bowl, and apparently there's a lot of people mad about it because of like a bunch of different reasons why, but they're like it doesn't really like represent Jesus. And I think to what you're saying, it's like for people to know the love of God, they have to experience it through us, right? And I think that's kind of what even Jesus talks about in the Gospels, where he talks about that he's the visible expression of an invisible God, right? I think as disciples of Christ, we now take on that same persona of we should now be the visible expression of an invisible God. And if God expresses himself through love, we have to be that visible expression of love to people who have never experienced God's love for themselves firsthand. Anytime you want to cut me off.
Never. Keep going. Are you done?
Yeah,
You sure?
sure.
So I guess essentially what I'm gathering is that we can show that God is love by living the fact that God is love.
I want to say yes, but I feel like you said it in the most confusing way possible.
Did I? I tried to summarize what you were saying. But so okay, so then I guess another question would be how do we live the fact that God is love? How do we lead by example with that?
I think it's the way that we approach others. It's the way that we interact with the people around us, like believer or non-believer. Like it's just like being kind and being helpful, like in any way that we can be.
I think first you have to be filled with God's love, because I don't think you can share God's love without first having experienced it and then having some amount of it in you. Because I think there are believers that have experienced God's love for themselves, but they don't have it in them so that they can now take it and share it. So I think, one, you experience God's love. Two, now you have to have that love in you to then be able to actually share it with others, right? And then that goes into, I think, what you're saying of the way we treat and interact with people will then demonstrate God's love, especially when it's, I think, the people who are outside of our comfort zone. So I think it's easy to say, oh yeah, I'm showing God's love when it's with your friends, your family, the people who are in your circle, in your life that are just easy to love, right? It's when it's the people who are difficult to love can you show them love? Because I think that is a big part of God's expression of love towards all of humanity is when we are difficult to love, he still loves us and shows us the ultimate form of love by sending Jesus Christ down the cross for our sins. So if that's how he's showing love, how can we then, in our interactions with people who are hard to love, how do we show them love? And it goes back to, well, how do you actually treat people?
So in 2 John, right, verse 6, it says, love means doing, and this is the NLT.
I have NLT open, don't worry.
Okay, I don't know which one you preferred. So I'm just letting you know this is what I have right now. It says, love means doing what God has commanded us, and he has commanded us to love one another just as you heard from the beginning. I guess to summarize that, it's basically like God is love, right? We've learned it since we were like little teeny tiny like in Sunday school, right? All throughout church. God is love, right? And that is the one pivotal like absolute truth. That if you don't believe anything else, right? God is love. And what was that? Okay, anyways. So the one way we can express that truth to others is to show them the kindness and the love and the mercy of God upon like throughout their lives. And so I guess in our culture today, would you say that love comes from your feelings about something or from like objective truths about it?
It's a good question. I think
It is.
I think it comes from a feeling in today's culture where it's just like we feel I don't know, like tingly in the slightest way, and we're like, oh, like, I think I love this person, or like I love this thing, or like if like something is taking up our time, or like just something that like fills us, like good or bad, I feel like that can be like taken as like I love this thing.
What do you mean by fills us?
Like if we're like, okay, like I like watching TV like that, and
Oh,
this
like your
like takes
time
up
and your
yeah.
Okay.
So I agree with what you're saying. I think that society today views love as a feeling. I think biblically and God's intention of love is it's not a feeling, but it's an intent of your will. It's an action, right? That's why 1 Corinthians 13, that like very popular like wedding scripture, right? When it talks about love, it never actually says that love is something
You
of a
feel.
feeling,
Yeah.
right? It describes love through actions. Love is patient, kind, not jealous or boastful or proud or rude. It does not demand its own way. It's not irritable, and it keeps no record of being wrong. It does not rejoice about injustice, but rejoices whenever the truth wins out. Love never gives up. Love never loses faith, is always hopeful, and endures every circumstance. None of that talks about love being a feeling. And I think that's why a lot of people end up, I want to say, sort of like in trouble in relationships.
Like
because,
falling out of love.
Yeah, because you're, whatever that tingly feeling is, you may lose it, right? And I feel like sometimes it gets described as like, starts with an A. All right, I'm not even going to try to remember that word right now, but
Describe it.
a tingly feeling. I feel like it's not even, doesn't even start with an A now that I think about it. But anyway, when that feeling goes, right, a lot of people, oh, well, I'm not in love with you anymore. Or they get the tingly feeling from someone else, and now they gravitate to that person. It's like, oh, well, I have that feeling here and da-da-da. That's not love. Love is the intention.
I feel like that tingly feeling is like that initial like attraction or like infatuation that you get with.
That's the word I was trying to.
I thought it was, but I was like, it doesn't start with an A.
Because that's all I have to. I'm like, no, it starts with "in," doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, that like that feeling of like being infatuated with something versus actually being in love with it. And I think once that feeling kind of fades, then it's up to you to decide that like, am I going to still put in the work to like show the love that this person and I share that has like kept us through the infatuation period, I guess.
Question or comment.
Okay.
Should not. Okay, so in my opinion, the love should not be based on the tingly feeling,
Correct.
right? Because if it is, right, even like the way you kind of put it just now, where when the tingly feeling's gone, well, do I still want to put in the work? You're still now basing
Based off of
you're
the,
still
yeah.
basing it on the feeling. Whereas I'm going to choose to love this person. I have the tingly feeling. Awesome, right? If that feeling goes away, I still choose to love them, right? And maybe, and I think that tingly feeling also depends on the type of relationship, right? Because that tingly feeling, you may not have that between friends, right? Friends who love each other, you may not have that. That feeling might be really, it's really more of that romantic feeling we're talking about. That's really more reserved, I would say, for husband-wife kind of relationship. So that may come and go. The three of us here aren't married, so I'm not gonna assume we know how the feeling goes. But yeah, someone saw this ring on my index finger
Do you
and
know
thought I
how many-
was married, and I was
So
like,
I
"That's
have
weird."
rings on both of my middle fingers, and I cannot tell you the amount of times in like high school or like early college where people were like, "You're married already?" I was like,
Go ahead, ring.
Okay. Um, I agree with love is a choice. Love is a choice. You choose to love someone even when they make you so angry that steam is coming out of your ears. It's a choice. You have to choose to love that person every day, romantically. It's also a choice to love people in general, I think. Romantically, it's a little bit more intense, I think, because there's ups, there's downs, there's hardships, there's hospitalizations, there's a bunch of other things. But it is a choice, like Kevin said. And I wholeheartedly agree with that. But I also think it's a choice when it comes to other relationships, even when it comes to people in the street. You have to choose to show love and grace even when they're not being loving and graceful. And that's one of the ways that we show the truth of Christ's love. Even though this is the way you're responding to me, I am going to react this way.
I concur.
same.
Same.
I was
Yeah.
hoping she said yeah. But then, okay, so then that feeling of infatuation, right? That tingly feeling, as it ebbs and flows, like within your relationship, it does kind of, it impacts your ability to love, right? If, yeah, full stop. It impacts your ability to love.
I'm gonna ask you to repeat that because you look like you got lost in the question yourself. So just repeat that
I
question.
got lost in where I was trying to take it. Okay, so when we do rely on that tingly feeling of the infatuation and stuff, right? That kind of, and we base our feelings of love on that. It impacts our ability to actually like choose to love that person. Be it a friend, be it someone romantic, be it even like the excitement of chasing after God, right? So how do we counteract that then? Like I know we said that love is an action, right? It's something we have to choose to do. How do we constantly remind ourselves that like, hey, you have to choose to stay in this relationship and do the work that it needs to build it?
Well, I think if when you look back at Second John, I think the same verse you were reading, verse 6. Love means doing what God has commanded us, and He's commanded us to love one another, right? I feel like that is a direct reference to when Jesus is asked what is the greatest commandment, and He says to, I'm paraphrasing it, to love God and to love people, right? And then now from that, well, what does it mean to love God and love people? Well, God gives us clear instructions as to how we should treat people, right? So when it comes to the how part, it's okay. As you read God's word, you learn how to treat people. And if you're treating people the way God commands us to treat them, then we are loving them. And when it comes to reminding ourselves, we now have to, I think it's less of a reminder and it's more of a mental shift from, okay, I'm going to repeat that because I feel like that did not sound right in the microphone. It's a mental shift. Make sure I pronounce all my letters there, right? It's a mental shift from I am going to base my behaviors on a tingly feeling to this is what God has asked me to do, and I'm gonna trust Him because He's truth. He going back to how we started. If He's that absolute truth, right, then I'm gonna base what I do based on Him, right? I'm gonna conform to Him, not make Him conform to me. If I do that, then I don't have to remind myself every day to love. I just have to seek God's truth as to how do I just show love. And I think that's really where we have to, as believers, make when the Bible talks about being like transformed by the renewal of our mind and things like that. I think that's a part of it, right? Where I keep wanting to say that word. I know we move from basing our actions on a feeling to God's truth. I'm gonna stop talking for the rest of this episode.
Can we look up the source? Can we find you a better word?
Now that I'm not talking, I'll look it up.
I heard it like a few times.
Okay. So you were talking about the kind of love that is described in 2 John, right? Where God says to love others, right? And a lot of times it's like to love others as I have loved you. What does that look like? Because God is always, I want to make sure I'm saying it right. Like we should be a people after God's own heart, right? But God is also, God is love, right? And love is patient, love is kind, love is caring, right? What's the other one? It doesn't hold on to grudges.
Patient, yeah. It's not jealous, it's not boastful, it's not proud, it's not rude. It doesn't demand its own way, so forth and so forth,
Right?
etc.
So a lot of these characteristics are who God is and who He has shown Himself to be within our lives. But how do we express that to other people other than just being loving towards them? Because a lot of times, a lot of experiences you're going to have with people on the street is going to be a one and done, right? Like, oh, you stepped on me. Oh, no, it's okay. Instead of causing a ruckus.
Well,
What?
I didn't say anything, so
yeah, I think you kind of covered it, like what you said. Even though those moments, however long or short it may be, it's just doing what is right in that moment. Like you said, just being oh, it's okay, and then that's showing love. It's being patient, in that time where you could choose to be angry. You decided, okay, I'm gonna be patient with this person, I'm gonna be kind, and just spreading that through every interaction that you have is taking
That can be hard, though.
no one said this work would be easy. If it was easy, everyone could do it, which they can't if they wanted to. Well, if they wanted, if they choose to.
If they chose love.
going down the dangerous road there.
Did you find a new word?
Yeah.
What is it
Found a
gonna
lot.
be?
Move, transfer, relocate, remove, transport, disturb. I'm gonna go with that one.
Disturb.
You have to
Yeah, but
disturb
you have
your
to
mind.
have it in the right context.
Can you use it in a sentence?
Otherwise, it will be very
It's
disturbing.
not a spelling bee. I'm not using this in a sentence. I don't even know what the question was, but keep going.
So, okay. Do our feelings change the truth that God has revealed to us? Or do they changed our perception of the truth?
I think it changed our perception of the truth.
That was the correct answer. I felt
yeah.
like I just needed to say it. because
I
you
was
seemed
trying to
very
trying to get
confused.
there, and
Very
my
confused.
my mind just wasn't forming the words for it.
It was disturbed.
Yeah, it was disturbed.
It was. You can also displace is another one. But I think that to what you're saying, yeah. Again, we have different perceptions. People have different perceptions of who God is. So they may not understand the truth of God's love, and I think a lot of times people's misconceptions of God's love comes from the way we, as His believers and disciples, demonstrate love to others. So a lot of times when people have a criticism of God, it's really a criticism of the Christian that they met. It's really not an accurate criticism of God, right? There are very few people I've met that have genuine criticisms of God, right? More often than not, it is a criticism of the way that we showed them love in the name of Christ. And we've kind of slandered God's name in doing so because we did it in sometimes the worst way possible. Because there are believers who have good intentions, especially when it comes towards people who are living in sin, a lot of the times, and trying to call them out of sin, we, in a lot of ways, kind of step in the place of Christ and think we have to save them. So we become the ones calling them out in a way in which we don't actually demonstrate God's love. And a lot of times we try to justify it, but it's really a matter of, no, if we were to show them God's love, right, let God be the one to transform them and save them and pull them out of whatever sin or sinful life they're living. Let God be the one to do that. We need to show them love.
Does my perception of the truth ever change the truth and what it is? Or what it means?
No.
I agree.
Okay. Because, as we said before, like, the truth is absolute, right? Doesn't matter how I perceive it, how I, like construe it or misconstrue it, either way. The truth is the truth. And what is the truth?
Yeah.
What is the truth? That was the question. That was a question.
God is love.
There we go. And what has God called us to do?
Tell
Love.
the truth.
To
To
love.
love.
There we go. I mean, you should also tell the truth. Also, please do tell the truth. So, why does having a truth that is independent of our feelings, right? Do we follow?
Yes.
Okay. Why does having a truth that is independent of our feelings protect us from the deceivers or those that choose to decept?
You started so strong with that question. You started so strong, and then you repeated it, which was good because I did not follow at the beginning. And you repeated it, and then you lost me at the end anyway.
Because I feel like protecting us from the deceivers could be broken down a bit more. But I didn't think of it until I was physically saying the words. So why does having a truth that is independent of our feelings protect us from deceivers?
Because the truth, it doesn't change. Like, it is what it is, and you were gonna do that. But like deceivers, like they can, like, if something is based on a feeling, anyone can say anything to you, and in that feel, like, it can cause a reaction in you that, like, can, like, change the way that you think or go about a situation. Whereas, like, as I said earlier, the truth is just, it is what it is.
Well, I think sometimes our feelings can be deceptive in and of themselves. So if we're relying on something that has the potential to be deceptive or to be swayed easily, because for a lot of us, our feelings are swayed easily. When it comes to, I want to say 2 John just calls them false teachers at some
Yeah.
point in there. right? I think it was what, verse 7, right? When it comes to that, they can say something that may make us feel good and maybe move us away from God's truth and move us to a lie, because sometimes if God's truth is the standard by which we live our lives, there's going to be times when we may want to do something that puts us in opposition to God's truth. So someone telling us a lie, as we said before, trying to make the truth conform to who we are, may often seem like the better option for us, right? As
I feel like
Asha
it's
was-
always easier to make things conform to what you
Right.
want them to be.
which of course is the issue there. So I think, yeah, you can't. You have to be grounded in truth and not feeling. Feelings have a place, right? But why is she still eating the bacon?
I'm not turning the camera on me. Sorry.
And she's eating it
I don't
this
know.
way,
I know.
like a harmonica. Why are you eating it that way? Can you just show the camera what it looks like?
You're not on camera.
Yes, she is. No, she is.
We could sell this now.
Why would we? How?
It's on the podcast. We can make
Join our Patreon.
No, don't join our Patreon to buy her half used.
Eaten.
I don't want to call that eaten. It's used.
It's eaten.
It's used.
How is it used?
Why are you still playing with?
Why are we still I'm hungry.
We have nuggies and fries.
That's kind of toilet. Anywho, back to y'all.
I have an extra cookie.
Yeah.
So basically what we're saying is that when you rely more on feelings than on the truth, it's always going to be easy to be deceived or
Yeah.
to fall for deception. But once you are grounded in the truth of who God is and what that means for your life, it'll be easier for you to stand firm on that foundation, and not only stand firm in it, but live a life worthy of like showing that to everyone around you, right? And it won't even be as hard as like trying to disprove like what everyone, well, not what everyone, but what a lot of people might misconstrue as what God is. But it'll help you to just have that light about you, like that light of God shining through you, as a lot of people like to say.
Yeah.
Facts.
So, to wrap it up, this episode we talked about
God is love and truth, and don't be deceived. And gummy bacon is horrible.
and we're gonna skip that last one, but yes,
But
all
it's-
of the
but it's
other,
true.
the rest of the above.
But it's true.
So, I'm gonna wrap this up, and I'm gonna say,
For the third time, but go ahead.
what do you mean for the third time?
It's the third time, but go ahead.
It might be. Choose truth.
It really was the third time.